It was the love of crime fiction. I grew up in a home with lots of books, and I read almost all of them. And I started at a really young age, as did my sister, who's 2 years younger than I am. So we really had this love of crime stories from childhood. And like you said, 2004, I sent her this email where I said that I started writing a book and I've written the first chapter, and now you go on and write the second chapter. And she did. And it took a long time, and it was just a hobby at that stage. You know, we never thought it would be published, but a few years later I sent the manuscript to 4 publishing houses in Stockholm, and 3 of them got back to us and said they were interested. And yeah, that was the start of a whole new career for me and my sister. Yes, I worked with audiobooks. I was the managing director of a really small audiobook publishing company. But we had some big names, some big writers like Henning Mankell, who was a really famous crime writer. So I had like one foot in this business, in this industry, which was a bad thing because it made me very nervous. I knew how hard it was to get your manuscript accepted by a publishing house. And I was very reluctant to send it to the publishing houses because maybe you know, I'd met these people and they would read it and they wouldn't like it. And anyway, in the end I did send it in, and it worked out really well. I was nervous. It's a weird job because you work with something for a year or more, and then everybody judges you, right? So it's a special job. But apart from that, I think I just felt liberated, because this is something that I always wanted to do, something like this, something being a bit more creative. And I was never happy working with the business issues. I was much happier on the creative side. Yes, because they won the Swedish Best Crime Novel of the Year, and then also the Scandinavian, which is a big thing in Scandinavia. And in Sweden alone, there are about 200 new crime novels published by Swedish writers every year. So for me, that was a big thing. And also, you know, just knowing that some of the best colleagues and critics like what you do felt really, really good. I do, and I mean, it's kind of interesting because yes, I am more confident. I also think I'm better at what I do now than I was 15 years ago, but I'm always nervous. That never goes away. Every time I write a book, I doubt myself and my ability to write this book every time. It's interesting, but in a way, I think that doubt makes me a better writer, because I'm very thorough and I make sure that everything is as good as it can be. You know, being a writer can be lonely. You're in front of your computer for months, and writing a book with somebody else is fun. You know, you have somebody to talk to. You can support each other. You can joke. You can solve problems together. But ultimately, I think it's not easier. The writing itself is not easier just because you're 2 persons. So now that I have written 6 books on my own, I think for me it's easier to write by myself. And so actually there was quite a lot of articles about this, the fact that I wrote about this, and also within my own circle of friends and my own family, people were divided. I mean, some people supported me, and some people didn't support me. And I can't really tell too much about the story, because that would spoil everything for the readers. But if you read the whole story, and also the afterword, the last sentences, you will understand where I stand in this, on this subject, what my opinion is, and not everybody agreed with me. So there was lots of arguments about this, actually. Yes, I think so. And I think that most of the topics, the themes I've been working with are questions that we see today in society. So I'm influenced by the world and the way the world looks today. And that is a subject that, we talk about a lot today. Yes, and to me, the characters are, that's the most important part about creating a book, about writing a book. Making sure you have interesting characters that feel alive, feel like real people, and that you as a reader get emotionally invested in, because that's what creates suspense. Suspense doesn't come from a car chase or somebody running around with a gun. And suspense comes when you are emotionally invested in a character. Not really. I mean, obviously I've created all of them, so there's pieces of me in them, but none of them are me, or anybody else for that matter. It's mainly based on his experiences in Russia, and not that he experienced all that Tom Blixen does, because Tom Blixen is like a secret agent, and he was not. So, but all the knowledge of Russia and that we write about comes from Paul. I had never been to Russia when I wrote the first book, and it's interesting and scary that some of the things that we wrote about are happening now. I mean, there are so many really, really good writers. I read a lot, and I mostly read fiction, both crime fiction and novels. I really like novels, also like Joyce Carol Oates and Ian McEwan, for instance. Also, we have some really good crime writers in Sweden. One of my favorites, Åsa Larsson, for instance. She writes about her crime stories are set in the northern part of Sweden. If I told you about my writing process, it would sound very structured and methodical, because I do write a really thorough synopsis, maybe 20 pages, where I outline the whole story, and then I discuss it with my editor, and then I start writing. So that sounds pretty structured, right? But then the story sort of develops organically. I don't always know what's going to happen. I mean, I know the end of the story. I know the twist in the story. I know my characters, but they invent their own things. I know, and that's not. It's called The Shadow Hunter, and it's actually. Yes, I think it's number 4 in the series. So it's not published yet in Portugal, but it's a book that is a crime novel, of course, but it stretches from 1944 to present time. And that book was a true challenge because of all the research I had to do. I had to interview female police officers or retired police officers just to make sure I got all the details right. And that took a long time. And I read books, I read dissertations, I read articles, a lot of work. Well, actually this one, which I cannot really pronounce, O Diário do Meu Desaparecimento. Oh, it's so difficult. But this book was a lot of fun to write, just because I really like the characters. There's this young guy in the book, his name is Jake, and he has a big secret. To him it is a big secret. And he likes to dress up in his mother's clothes. Oh, it's kind of sweet and innocent when you think about it, but to him it's a terrible thing. And I just fell in love with Jake when I wrote this book. And I think the readers also really liked him, so I enjoyed writing this book a lot. This is going to be the future for the Portuguese book market too. Audiobooks has exploded in Sweden. And what made it explode is the establishment of online streaming platforms. So you have your app and then you can stream an audiobook. You don't have to go and buy DVDs. So that made the market explode. So about 50% of the market is audiobooks, if you talk about fiction. So it's huge, and it's not just young people, it's everybody, and people listen when they're in their car or at, you know, in the evenings, or when they go for a run, or at the gym or whatever. And I think this is going to happen in other European countries too. Seeing my children all grown up and happy and exploring the world, and you know, that's bigger than anything else. Portugal, it's not a small thing, but Portugal make me happy. And all the small things, just, you know, a walk in the forest. Today we went for a long hike, we saw the sheep, and we were in the mountains, so beautiful. Small things, just a cup of tea with a good friend, a good book, a good TV series, things like that. Obrigada.